We're at 5G World in London, and joining me is Hans Mickelsson from Ericsson. Hans, good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, Ericsson have really been making a lot of progress in 5G research, and one of the areas that you've particularly focused on is network slicing. I was wondering why that's really been singled out as a key component of future 5G networks.
I think there's several reasons for that, and I think one basic reason is that for the 5G networks being developed, we see that it will not only be radio support. Well, radio will be a very important component, but it will also be trying to address new businesses. We're trying to expand the business beyond sort of the normal operator business, and we think network slicing is one way to do that, because then we can slice the network in different parts. Each part of the network or each slice can have different characteristics, which are sort of dependent on what service you would like to provide. And by that you can basically provide a mobile broadband service to some customers, and over the same network you can also provide an IoT service, for example, or even a critical IoT service. It has super critical requirements of latency, for example. So it's a way of sort of structuring a network in a little bit more efficient way, and I think this is something that has been enabled now to be much more flexible than before by virtualization of our network functions, by software-defined networking to have a more programmable network, and of course the cloud, deploying the functions in the cloud. So I think that's one reason. I think a second reason, which is quite interesting, is also the time to market or time to customer. Because with network slices, you can actually start to experiment with new services in your network. So you can essentially create a sandbox in your network, and there you can experiment with new services over the live network, but since the slices are totally isolated from each other, it doesn't affect the other users at all. So if the service is successful, then you can scale it up by scaling your functions, or if it's not, then you can just remove it and no one has sort of noticed that you did that experiment. So that's sort of two things that we're doing. And I think what we're showing here in the show here is to take it even to the next step. So we show the basic mechanism at Mobile World Congress earlier this year. What we see here today in the demos we're doing is to take it to the next level, where we also introduce orchestration and management, so a fully automated system, which sort of takes care of the whole life cycle management of a network slice, from defining it, to deploy it, to manage it over the runtime, to monitor the SLAs, and decommission it when you don't need it anymore, so to speak. So that's a little bit our thinking around network slicing today.
Given the sheer volume of trials and research projects that Ericsson has launched over the past couple of years into 5G, what do you think has been the main thing that has been learnt since these trials were launched?
I think the biggest change is that we're actually trying to expand our base or who will benefit from our network. So I mean, we're working now a lot with non-operators. We have a lot of industry pilots that we're running. I think we today have about 15 industry pilots we have in Europe and Sweden. We go into these industries, it could be the automotive industry, it could be manufacturing, industry automation, try to work with this industry to learn what are the requirements they have on networks and what problems can we help them solve by our mobile network and our future radio technologies and the ways we're building our core network and so on and so forth. So I think that's a little bit what we're doing there, I think.
And what do you think the biggest challenge is to be overcome before 5G becomes a reality? We've heard about risks of fragmentation, different spectrum bands being used. What do you think the industry really needs to come together and solve?
I think there's probably many things we need to look into. I think one thing we short-term need to solve is sort of, there's fairly aggressive time plans now that we have, so I think then there is a balance of what sort of new things will we introduce versus how fast could it be deployed in the real networks. And I think we can see different parts of the world, there are different timelines, but the timelines are coming closer and closer to us right now. So some people would like to have this deployed 2018, some 2020. So that are really challenges. Then of course there are technical things that we need to work with to make our network, I think, simplify it, make it easy to deploy new services quicker. I mean, today it can take months and months to deploy transport service. That is not sustainable in a new future where we would like to attract so many new businesses and we would like to attract new people using our networks. So I think that is probably one very big challenge to the whole management part, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.